Hello and welcome. It's time for a new release again. New month. Woohoo! Time flies when you're having fun, right? Working with Intune. Hey Matthias, how's it going?
Hi, Nicola. It's very good. Flew back from VP Ninja Friday night and enjoyed being home with wife and kids.
Nice. Have you had time to adjust? Coming back from a conference, it's always like you meet all your friends and you meet all your peers and the members of the community, and it's so much fun. You're like tripping on some other planets or walking on clouds. I don't know how to describe it, but then you get home and everything's like boom in your face again. Regular life, those kind of things.
Yeah,
Taking out the trash, cooking dinner.
I think that went very fine. I had like my sister-in-law's kids as well, so we had like 6 kids. But I'm not to complain. I was on
Wow.
VP Ninja with one that had 7 kids and just got a newborn, and he was on VP Ninja. So, wow, I would take my hat off if I have one.
Yeah, I
That's
have one.
indeed.
So, gentlemen, we will take a hat off for you for sure. So let's get into it, right? This time around, it's Intune Service Release 2309. We have a few interesting topics, but it's not, the usual common long list of new features this time around, I would say at least. So let's get started with the first one, which is MAM for Windows is now GA. And I'm not really sure, but I myself, I think of this as MAM for Edge. I'm not sure what you think, Matthias, but that's what it is to me, at least, because it's very Edge centered, right? Even though Edge can run on Windows and many other platforms.
Yep, it is. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. So when you create a, yeah, we all know the Windows Information Protection, and some maybe have configured these MAM policies as well for iOS and Android. But they are here for Windows now, and for Windows, well, what Nicola and I mean is for Edge. So yeah, currently there's not that many apps you can see over here. We only have Microsoft Edge, so that was what we can configure. And then we have some data where we can receive from, where we can send our data, and if we allow cut, copy, and paste from Edge. So not much to deal with yet, and but as every other MAM policy can do, you have uh, stuff you can jump around with, block access, wipe data, and warn and stuff. So I think we are on to something here, Nikolai.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I mean, my interpretation of why this is called MAM for Windows is because, I mean, you saw the list of applications on your right side, right? I mean, what's there to stop it from adding Paint? I don't know, maybe not the best example, but, you know, um, we could have definitely more applications introduced into this control in the future. So we were just joking a little bit about this for Edge because that's the current app that is supported. But I think of this going full scale in the future, right? I mean, hopefully there could be new apps, but you can control this where this is supported on.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
super
Thank
cool.
you for a
Yeah,
test drive. That's our recommendation.
absolutely.
And next up, we have something that I feel is really interesting and can't wait to get started with. That's config refresh, which is within the settings catalog now. Unfortunately, I would say that's why I'm still waiting for it. It's only for insiders. I want to test this in a production sense. But the feature itself is really, really interesting. It's like taking us back to the group policies days a little bit because it's essentially an engine that reassures your configuration that you apply to the devices is being reevaluated to be reapplied again on a certain interval that you define. So I think this is extremely exciting because I know for a fact that we have a few users that gladly uh, abuses their elevation privileges to go into the registry, for instance, and remove edge policies because they don't like some sort of limitations that they may have. But with this configuration, obviously, we could set a cadence to reapply those every 15 minutes, or I mean, I don't know what the latest count is, but maybe 30. Um, yeah, 30 seems to be the one. So with that, I can at least annoy those users a little bit more, making sure that they do not circumvent these policies, so forth. So I think it's really cool. But there's also the other sort of security aspect to this, right? If you would have some sort of malware that would cause your configuration to drift or make changes that you're not really aware of, then you could have this sort of certainty that you would know that if something would have changed, it's going to be reapplied again from that aspect, hopefully breaking the sort of spreading of the malware or similar. Or yeah, I think at least this is very interesting. I'm super excited to test this out once it's available, not only for insiders.
Absolutely. And I too, because I have customers that really would like to have this configuration drift to stop. And yeah, it's simply nice. So
For sure.
mm,
So what is it you do? You basically just enable it, put in the cadence, and that's it.
yeah, that's it basically. And then it will
Very cool.
even remediate offline.
Oh yeah, that's right. There is no sync related required. That's
Yep.
really cool. So that's good.
And I believe if you know Rudy, Call for Clouds, you could also go look through his findings. He is always playing around ahead of time, doing DLL, viewing into DLLs in the insider previews and so forth. So he's a good source of information on regard of config refresh and everything behind it.
I would say not only a good source, but also sorcerer around bending time, because I don't know how he gets that. I mean, where he finds all the time to do his stuff. So shout out to you, Rudy. Definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
Next up, we don't usually speak that much about Mac OS, but we thought that since we had mentioned remote help and talked about it quite a lot in the past, and I know myself, I've been advocating for at least or pushing towards more cross-platform support, specifically Mac OS, and now it's here. Not the full sort of experience; it's only from a view-only perspective, meaning that the how do you call it in those terms? Like help desk personnel or the support personnel is able to view a session with the person who needs support. But I think that's a really good first step. So hopefully more will come in this space. And we thought that we would simply just mention this because remote help is a killer feature, I believe. Now it's available for Mac OS too. So,
Absolutely. So Mac OS, Android, Windows,
yeah,
it's nice.
it is. And there's a few more things related to remote help. We now have remote launch. What
Yeah.
can you do with that, Matthias? What's that? Can I just sit back in my chair here and say launch?
Yes, you can. Indeed,
Nice.
that's
I'll give
what
it a
is
try.
introduced here.
Are you ready?
So yeah, are you ready? So first thing is, of course, if it's responding, my keyboard, it does, is of course to see if you have the remote help installed. And when you install that, you also get an option if you want it to continuously update your application. So you need this newest version, 5.0.10.45, otherwise it's not going to work. And then you also need to go into the documentation to look at all the URLs that you need to open. And the last part is the inbound firewall. So I have created 3 programs here where I have program files, remote help, and remote help.exe. I have rhservice.exe as well. And lastly, I have the remote help rdp.exe. Those needs to be modified on your inbound. I haven't tested if everything needs to be open up, but at least you can see that on the documentation. So what you should be able to do is to go and launch the remote help on the device. So we go into the Cloud PC here, and then we click up here and we say new remote assistant session. Now look at this. The device you are connecting to is not compliant with your organization's security policies. So this is actually already stating that this device is not safe, or something is happening around the compliance policies. So what I do, I click connect, and now the portal will send, or Intune will send down a notification using the push channels to my device, and it will launch sort of, the integrated bar here with
A toast notification, basically.
so yeah, it's a toast notification, I believe, and ta-da! In my case, it doesn't work, and I haven't got it to work on any of my Windows 11 devices, unfortunately. So I have to talk to Lance about this and what we need to enable further for this capability to actually work.
And we were just talking about that before we started this recording. And I mean, what would be interesting is simply just to completely, turn off the firewall, see what happens if it's anything related to that. Because in our testing, like you said, we have done what it's saying in the docs. It still not seems to be working. The easiest way to rule that out, just turn it off, right? It's not a good practice generally, but from a troubleshooting perspective in a controlled lab environment, you can always do those things.
Exactly. And I don't have any firewalls or proxy services or anything configured here. So it should go right on my Windows 365 device.
Maybe we can come back next month when we have it working and demo it again. Or yes, you, as the listener or viewer, you can have a go and let us know if it works for you.
Be nice.
For sure.
In the comment. Please
so. Next up is the most exciting one so far for this month. No, I'm just kidding. So within the device blade, we have a new column under Windows devices. And it's essentially to show more details around the management certificate that you get when you enroll to Intune. When is it going to expire? So to give you a way of easily filtering out devices that are maybe have missed their automated, renewal of this. We have seen this a few times. Devices has been offline too long, then they come online. And that's a good way of sort of trying to keep track of that, at least. So do you have anything that's expiring soon? December? Nope. No.
But I have this one. That is my Cloud PC. And it's expiring here the 17th of July. It is 2024. And we can actually see that as well if we bring up the MMC console and we go and add a snap, a certificate. We add the computer account. I've already done it prior to this. And then we go look for the certificate that has Microsoft Intune MDM-CA. And when we look at the date here, we can see the 17th of July, 2024. So the one we see on the Intune tab now is the one matching the certificate on our device. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I like this. I think this is a great improvement from the sort of troubleshooting perspective. Not only to see that the device is non-compliant or compliant or managed at all. If it has problems receiving policies or whatnot, it could be that this certificate has expired and the automatic renewal has failed for whatever reason. So, good stuff.
Absolutely.
And one of your favorites, right? Windows Defender Application Control has received a new name. Has it? It's been populated there as well. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
They have been busy.
They have
changing names all the time.
It's nice. So what is the difference now? Nothing.
Difference, first of all, it's shorter.
Yeah.
Maybe easier to say, pronounce. I don't know. WDAC,
control for business.
ACB. No. ACB is like
ACDC.
right? Exactly. How are you doing with your ABCs? How's it going? Oh man, yeah. Okay, back to seriousness here.
No, but I mean, Microsoft is rebranding a lot of stuff right now with all the AI coming into the products. The new Windows 11 23 H2 as well, where we have Windows Copilot and we have Microsoft 365 Copilot. We have Security Copilot. We have a lot of Copilot. So it's fun to pick your brain on old expressions and then have to modify whatever exists up there in in the higher floors and make sure that you switch out Azure AD to Enter ID. And it's so fun to be in a conference and hear people just
everybody needs to update your slides and those things, right? And
you start with this abbreviation kind of thing to just make sure people know what you talk about.
But I mean, sorry if we're going a little bit off track here, but this is, I mean, it's a bit annoying to me, right? Because I mean, if you look on the left side here, there's like disk encryption, firewall, endpoint privilege management, endpoint detection and response. Then there's app control for business. What about enterprises then? Well, you could probably argue that enterprises are a business, but in my opinion, a lot of stuff that has the business name into it implies that it's not enterprise level, so to speak, if you look at some of the parts of the licensing and so forth. So to me, this is a confusing name. Just go with app control, application control, keep it simple. There's no need to marketize this any further like that. With that out of the way, what is it then? It's still app control, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's pretty cool, actually. And didn't we cover that in our previous video? I think we did.
I think we have gone through it quite a lot of times. So look at the other videos if you want to have more information about what's been new in the past months about that. There's also a new update around government tenants. They now support application control. This is actually fun because usually we copy these texts in here that we put down there from the actual what's new page. So they made the name change to app control for business, but they did not bother updating the same documentation with the new name or the same page or site, whatever. So that's a little bit fun. So it should say government tenant support for app control for business policy I mentioned. So, but there's new features there if you're running a government tenant. So cool, check it out. You now have more options to manage with this.
But Nikolai, you know what?
No.
The reason why it's so difficult with documentation is that when marketing is wanting to change the name on something, right? It needs to be on the right dates. You can't just go in there in documentation and give it the new name that no one knows about, and then all of a sudden, well, what's this and why is it new?
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, changing name, it's not that bad, but change it to something that's good then, at least. We should get moving on. So in relation to endpoint privilege management, we can now use that for Windows 365 cloud PCs. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, we can. And EPM is the new hot potato part of the Intune suite and also available to purchase as a separate add-on license. But EPM, the new feature here to be able to launch a lot of exe files, etc., on your client without having a local admin permission, which is very, very safe. And well, the news is now we can cover Windows 365. And as you know, AVD, Windows 365 have moved into the same kind of space, but this news covers Windows 365 and not AVD. So unfortunately for you staying on AVD, you won't have EPM availability yet. Yet I said, but I don't actually know if EPM ever will come to AVD.
But so you kind of broke your NDA there, right? No, I'm just kidding.
No, because I wouldn't know. I just haven't read anywhere or got any information on that part. So no breaking NDA, no nothing. Just guessing. And
Isn't essentially AVD more or less supposed to be just, virtual machine? So wouldn't EPM just work in there out of the box?
I don't know, because most AVD I see is like the multi-user version of Windows 10, and that is a different ball game. If you're using
That is
AVD
different for sure.
instead of having this persistent VDI, which Windows 365 is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it will ever have support for that, but nevertheless, you wouldn't. What is the use case to have EPM on the AVD? Because what you want using a EPM is for saying, well, I have these applications that I want to install on my devices and allow end users to do, because it doesn't have too many users on it, and then we do not bother to automate it and centralize it on the platforms we usually do. So EPM could be your choice of saying, well, let's make a rule for it and let's have the users be able to install this software themselves, and even without giving them any kind of local admin permissions, which is a huge responsibility to give to a user. You said it yourself, Nikolai.
For sure.
People want to remove edge policies, right?
Oh yeah.
You shouldn't give a handout local admin rights. So,
No,
yeah.
I agree.
So
Totally.
EPM is nice, and it's developing from month to month. We can see that in what's news. We get all kind of new stuff there. So yeah, look out for
But I
this
assume
product.
there's no real difference in terms of the policies and the configuration. It's just that now you can apply the policies on devices or on cloud PCs.
Yes.
That is cool.
Mhm.
Sweet. But we are not done yet with EPM. There is a new report as well. Elevation report by publisher this time.
Yep. And I can't get my double click to work. There it was. Elevation report by publisher. So if we click into that, we'll get all the publisher that we have in our environment that EPM has discovered and uploaded to our report here. So this report is kind of a linked report to one of the other ones, where here it's more like, well, if you have thousands of publishers and you have had unmanaged elevation types and such, it would be nice to have that overview. So this report is for more of the overview stuff. The null here is actually my Notepad++, and this is my Microsoft incorporated. So if you use
Interesting
this
that it's
one,
showing null.
yeah, exactly. If you use this one with this one, you actually get the full overview of every file that has some kind of elevation type, unmanaged as managed. So it is to give you a more highlighted overview of your elevations. This can be quite a heavy list if you have a lot of endpoints in EPM. I only have a couple of endpoints, so yeah, it will give you a lot of good stuff.
Cool. So it's progressing. There's EPM is becoming more and more useful for each month, it looks like.
Yeah.
From the report perspective, we've also seen that there's now an updated experience to the update ring policies, maybe we should call them. So previously they were one of those sort of left behind policy types that still had the donuts or pie charts, whatever it's called, where you couldn't really get the same type of experience that you would see from, for instance, a settings catalog policy. Now you can. So now you have the same information, the same experience, the same report types. And I like that. I like consistency. I've said it many times before. Be done with all that if you make something new, introduce it everywhere so it's consistent. And we are almost there, I believe, right? I can't really, on top of my mind, remember anything that's not using this anymore. Oh, maybe security baselines, right? For Windows.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the remaining one, maybe, or one of them. So that's cool.
But Nikolai, do you recall the old way of showing the pie charts?
Yeah,
Otherwise, I
users and
prepared something.
devices, and yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are you talking about?
Okay, so the old experience. This is the old experience.
Oh,
Covered
yeah.
it in an earlier video.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't really useful, was it?
It was updated very slowly, I remember, right? Like
once
every day or 7
exactly.
hours or something like that. Yeah.
And you had one for users, you had one for devices, and then you could click device status or user status or end user update status. It wasn't really good, was it?
No, I somehow like this better, to be honest.
Now we have all settings. If they're succeeded, you have error, you have conflicts, you have a device assignment, so you can generate the data when you need to use it, right? Instead of having pre-populated data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you need it, you get it, right? Instead of just, oh no, it hasn't been updated yet. I'll go look at it tomorrow.
So it's more streamlined. It have exactly what you need here.
For sure. And next on our list, we have the access policy for multiple administrator approval, which are now in GA. That's interesting.
Yep.
Do you have the access policies? You have no requests, at least.
I have no requests. I have created a few in the past, and we also covered it here in 22.11 once it first was released for us. And we had a good talk, Nikolai. Do you remember?
No, I've forgotten about that.
I've forgotten about that. Look how nice you look, and me, and my long hair.
I have like a sun in my face or something.
Yeah. So basically, what it covers is PowerShell remediation and apps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and if you want to see how it works, you can go watch that demo in 22.11 and see how we do the scripts and so on. It would be nice to have it to also include configuration profiles and compliance policies as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
But one thing as well, not only the other different profile types, but also only for Windows, only for iOS, only for Mac, those kind of things. So be able to split the access by platform. That is one thing that's really needed from our perspective, because our, let's say, Windows and mobile teams, they are very divided per se. They do things very differently. So I think that totally makes sense. So let's see what happens in the future around that. If that will come. I've given that feedback. Let's see what happens. And we have one thing that wasn't actually in the what's new page, or the docs page at least. So, and that is around Autopilot device blade now supports filtering. And honestly, I'm not sure if that is on this month or the previous month, but I noticed it last week that it got an update. Hey, look at that, add filters. And this is the cool thing. Go to group tag. And then you just put in, oh, you don't have anything with a group tag. But if you would have a group tag, you can actually, it functions like contains, right? So, or a match. So if you just put in a part of the string, or the beginning, or somewhere on your string, let's say you have a string that's compiled of different sections with some sort of dividers. Let's say country is one. You want to see all your devices in a certain country. You could put in like C dash and then the ISO code for country, whatever you do. It filters. It's awesome. It's so much easier. So if you're managing a lot of devices with Autopilot, like I've said in the past, the old view was a mess. You would scroll, load more, scroll and load more. No, it just doesn't work. But this is a huge improvement, I think, for this blade. One thing that is annoying me though is that look at the size of the serial number column, and look at the size of the group tag, for instance. I mean, our group tag is way longer than the serial number button or column. Exactly. That's
Is
how
this what you need?
So
Like
let's
that?
exactly, yeah, maybe not like that, but maybe just divide them with the same space. I don't know why someone had to put in so 75% for the serial number column, and then everything just sizes after that. It's the small things that makes things great, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. So whoever developed this, if you are watching this, please change it back. Make it equal spacing. It's way better. Then I don't have to go resize everything.
But I think it's quite hard to be the UI developer here because someone is using 125% and someone is using 100%.
Probably.
Yeah.
But usually the serial number column, unless you're running a virtual machine, is like 7 to 9 to 10 characters. It doesn't need all that spacing. Just for general knowledge.
Yes, I agree.
For sure. And that's it. That's all we have for this one.
Yeah, I actually have one bonus here, Nikolai.
The bonus one, I like.
Yeah, I have a bonus one. So you know that Windows 11 23H2 came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not general available, but it was a release of that into. So I wanted to go and deploy that. So I kind of went into my configuration, and yeah, I'm part of the way that manages their updates. So I don't get it from the update ring, but I do have my device in my deployment service. So that means I need to go in here and make sure that I'm entitled to get the newest version of Windows 11. But that's definitely not a thing that you can do currently. You have to wait for that to be released. So one thing
I released to the release preview channel. Is it really
exactly.
GA, right? It's not GA at this point.
It's not GA. No.
Exactly.
So I thought this was maybe just the Intune team that hadn't put it into the UI. So what you can do is you can go to the graph and you can list this kind of view. And if you go down here and you go to Windows Updates, you can actually get a list.
I thought you were going to show us how to follow us on X.
Nope.
I'm just kidding.
So if you grab that and you grab the selected name here, like that, you get a fine query in the API of the deployment service. And now then you can see all the things you have available here that you can actually target your devices. So the thing is, Windows 11 is currently not available in 23H2. And this is, of course, why I can't do it in Intune as well. Just FYI.
FYI. I think we should call it with that FYI. That's a good one, for sure. Nice. Well, thank you, Matthias. As always, nice talking to you. I hope you all enjoyed this video as well. Until next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.